Hey everybody, Doug Mark, President of LearningZen, and today I'm here to talk to you about transforming instructor-led training into online training or e-learning. And this is the first video in a series of videos we're going to produce that we will then turn into a free course for all of our LearningZen clients. And I think we probably want to start with that notion of, well, why do I want to use virtual training versus instructor-led or in-person training? And there's a few different reasons. Let's first of all start off with the efficiency, because when we build courses in a learning management system, we can disseminate that information out to everyone with a click of a button. And so when we make a change to that course, or let's say we change one of the modules, or we change a picture or a video inside of a chapter, we only have to make that once, and then we get to push it out to our entire community instead of making the update and having to physically be at all of those locations. And then the other notion is that the school of thought is that instructor-led training takes twice as long as virtual training or e-learning. So if I spent 2 hours delivering an in-person training course, the thought is we could absorb that information in an hour if it was via e-learning. I personally think that number is way less than that. I think we can absorb way faster than an hour because of the things like videos. And when we talk about videos, you know, YouTube is the #2 search engine in the world right now. And we know that video can be absorbed 60,000 times faster than reading. And so I think when we're delivering courses, instead of maybe a 2-to-1 ratio, it might almost be a 3-to-1 ratio. You might have to do some upfront work to get it built, but the return will definitely be there. So highly efficient. It's a lot more accessible. Anybody in the world can take this course from anywhere, anytime. That's pretty awesome. There's a huge cost savings. First of all, you're already paying for a learning management system. You're already paying instructor-led trainers to be out there in the field. I don't think you should stop either one of those things. I think they work really well together. And I think that helps with an entirely blended learning environment. But right now, trainers can't be out in the field, so let's have them working on the virtual training itself. So we don't have to pay for all of those travel fees, and we also don't have to print all of those manuals and pay for those to be given to our employees when chances are they end up in the trash or in somebody's trunk anyways. Let's stop printing papers. Today's learners learn very differently than when I was in my 20s. And then the last thing is it's going to be a lot more environmentally friendly. You know, there's no carbon footprint that you're putting out there. And again, we're not killing any trees to print papers. So that's kind of the why reason we're going to talk about. Now, a lot of people say, well, okay, I've got my instructor-led training and I've got my PowerPoint. I'll just turn that PowerPoint into a course and we're done, right? I can just publish this, Doug. Unfortunately, no, that's not the case, because as instructors, when we use PowerPoint, that's a training aid. That's not the course. The course is actually coming from the instructor and the interaction the instructor has with the students. The PowerPoint is the training aid to remind us what things we're going to talk about and which things we need to cover. But as we expand upon these things as instructors, we're explaining the concepts that are getting absorbed by the audience. So it definitely doesn't have that conversion ratio where I can say, yep, just take my PowerPoint, turn it into a course. I think we need to do some of the process and planning ahead. So what process should you use to help plan out your e-learning? And that's going to be the start of this course. And we're going to talk a little bit about the ADDIE method. So the ADDIE method, that's an acronym that just stands for the analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. So let me just expand upon those things a little bit more. When I'm talking about the analysis, that's going to be the analysis of your training course, your training program, your mission that you're trying to teach, as well as you need to do the analysis on your audience. Are they younger? Are they older? Where are they located? How do they like to absorb information? And what are the tasks? What are kind of the steps and the policies and procedures for them to follow? Step 2 of this process is the design. And that's where you're going to do your storyboarding and your prototyping. And we'll talk more about those in future lessons. And then the development, that's the step 3 that everyone wants to go right to. You know, they want to start with that one. because it's fun and it's where we get to, have some creative liberties with what we're building. But when you're doing your content development and your testing, you're gonna need to do that as kind of step 3 here. And then step 4 will be the implementation. And since we're talking now, chances are you have an LMS or a LearningZen client, and that's how you're going to implement. You're going to load this into your LMS. If you don't have an LMS, you would be, putting this on YouTube or putting this into Google Docs or something along those lines. And the final step that we're going to talk about is the evaluation. And that's this notion is, do the actual results match my expected results? Are those things measurable? And so when we're designing our material and we're transforming instructor-led training to e-learning, we're going to want to follow that process. You don't have to follow the ADDIE process. If you've got a different process you follow, absolutely, that's great. But what you can't do is just make the assumption that I'm going to just take my instructor-led training, I'm just going to record myself doing that, or I'm just going to take my PowerPoint and we're going to be good to go. We need to disseminate that information a little bit differently. All right, thanks for following lesson 1. Stay tuned for lesson 2. Cheers.